5 and he was 6. We rode on horses made of sticks. He wore black and I wore white. He would always win the fight. Bang, bang, he shot me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, an awful sound. Bang, bang.
Hey followers, welcome to Cars and Caffeine. I'm Michael, this is Thomas, and today we are test driving the 2015 Ford Explorer Sport.
That's correct. We'll start with kind of the specs of the vehicle. This vehicle has the Ford EcoBoost motor, so it has a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, produces 365 horsepower, 350 pound-feet of torque. And reaches 60 miles an hour in 6.2 seconds, which is pretty good for a vehicle this size, I'd say. After driving the vehicle for a while, it feels pretty responsive, pretty quick, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
As Mike mentioned, this is the sport trim of the Ford Explorer. So those of you who aren't familiar with the line, the Ford Explorer, there's the XLT, there's Limited, and then Sport for the 2015 year is the top of the line. New for 2016 and above, they added a Platinum trim, which comes above the Sport.
But, just diamond stitch leather and...
Yeah, it actually has some pretty cool upgrades, but that also has the EcoBoost motor in that as well. But for the 2015 year, this was the top of the line for the Explorer lineup. So the Ford Explorer Sport is the only one that has the twin turbo V6 motor of the Explorer lineup. The Limited has the option for the 2-liter EcoBoost engine, or in the 2016 and above, you get the 2.3-liter EcoBoost, or a naturally aspirated 3.5-liter V6. The naturally aspirated V6 makes about 290 horsepower, and the EcoBoost is a little bit below that then as well. As for gas mileage in this car, we get about an average of 18 to 19 with kind of mixed driving. On the highway, you can get around 24 or so. It's pretty typical.
Alright, so the fuel economy in this car, according to Kelley Blue Book, is 16 in the city, and in the highway, 22. Combined MPG, they guess around 18 miles per gallon, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent with real world experience as well. We usually get between 18 and 19 with mostly city driving. Obviously, your driving habits will impact that as well, but on the city, on the highway, we definitely don't get above like 23 or 24, so that those ratings seem to be pretty accurate. It's not the most fuel efficient for being a V6, but it still has like more power like a V8, so I mean, it's
exactly.
kind of you give and take.
Yeah.
So as for the drivetrain in this vehicle, there's a 6-speed automatic with select shift. So there's a manual mode, and in the Sport model, you get paddle shifters mounted behind the steering wheel, which is unique to the Sport. Then also another cool feature of the Ford Explorers is the terrain select tool. So this is kind of, if you're familiar with the Range Rovers, it's kind of similar to those vehicles, but you have a dial here where there's options for just normal driving. You have like mud and rut mode, a sand mode, and a snow mode, as well as your downhill control too, speed control. But those are actually pretty useful. They actually do change the characteristic of the vehicle quite a bit. In the winter, you do sometimes find it useful to use the snow mode. It really kind of makes the throttle a lot less touchy, so you're not going to be like spinning your tires leaving a stoplight or something if the road is icy. So it's very helpful there, as well as just kind of changes the feel of the steering a little bit. Sand mode will make the throttle a lot more touchy, so if you were in sand, you hopefully wouldn't be coming to a stop and getting stuck, and it'll help you kind of spin out of that. And then mud is also just kind of set up to help you kind of through like a muddy or a gravel road, stuff like that too. So they'll adjust like the traction control settings and things like that in the vehicle as well. It's actually a pretty cool system too. It's not really, I wouldn't really call it a gimmick. It actually does make quite a big difference, I'd say.
Oh, definitely. Whereas in some vehicles like the Jeep Grand Cherokee or other vehicles that had the same feature. I actually test drove a Jeep Grand Cherokee earlier this year, and I felt it did not have the same responsiveness as this Ford Explorer.
Yeah, and this performs really well too, and like all 4 seasons. Earlier, so this past winter, so about a year ago, we had a pretty serious snowstorm, and the snowplows were just like not even able to really keep up with the roads or anything. There's good probably 6 inches of snow like on the actual roads, and I mean this was just not a problem for this at all.
Just
you
push straight through it.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely. I mean, you just really felt in control too. It wasn't like you were scared that you're gonna like slide off the road or anything like that too. It just, it always had traction and just was gave you a lot of driver's confidence too, which is very important in a SUV like this.
Indeed.
As for the size of this vehicle, it is actually a 3-row SUV, but I wouldn't really put a full-size adult in the 3rd row. For kids that's fine, but it's not a ton of room in the 3rd row, but that can be folded flat and stowed away. And in this model, there's actually the electric settings for the 3rd row too, so you can just hit a button and the seats will completely fold flat and be out of your way, which is a pretty cool feature too. But then otherwise, then you have the bench seat back here, which has plenty of leg room too and is a very comfortable ride. One other option that would be nice to have on this vehicle is that you can turn the 2nd row here into bucket seats rather than a bench. So just take out that little middle seat there, which is pretty nice because then you have the aisle to get back to the 3rd row. So if you are going to use the 3rd row for seating, that'd be very useful. As well as it just makes the 2nd row more comfortable, I'd say. But I don't know, it's all right without it too. The bench isn't horrible either. It's still pretty comfortable.
Oh yeah, I love it.
In the back for the 2nd row too, there is actually like a wall outlet, so you can plug in just like a normal wall outlet, like phone charger or something like that, as well as a cigarette lighter for like a charging port. Up front there with the Microsoft Sync system, there is a USB connection as well as just your standard Bluetooth and aux connections, and cigarette lighter as well for connectivity.
What kind of sound system is in here, do you know?
Yeah, so with this trim, some of the options that this has the upgraded Sony speaker system, so it's by Sony. It's a decent sound system, sounds pretty good. The highs are nice and clear. The bass isn't overwhelming or anything. It's almost a little bit muddy, I'd say. There's not a ton of bass.
Yeah,
so.
it seems like it's kind of muffled a little bit, but...
Yeah, the subwoofer in the back, there's like a 8-inch, I believe, kind of like shallow mount subwoofer hidden in the back. It doesn't really produce that great of sound, I'd say, so that'd be my critique for the sound system. But overall, it's pretty clear, and yeah, it's not bad. But as I mentioned, this vehicle is equipped with the Ford Sync system, so that's also has the GPS and navigation on it, as well as all like your climate controls and things like that. And then right below the screen, you have also like redundant, but it's all the climate control options are there again, which is kind of interesting on how they do it on the Ford. But all these buttons are actually touch sensitive; they're not actually physical buttons. So some people like it, some people really don't. But once you get used to it, I don't think it's too big of an issue. It makes for a really clean appearance, as you can tell. I mean, by these photos, it looks really clean, but it's a little weird getting used to the fact that they're just touch sensitive.
It's a very responsive, touch sensitive dash, and makes for really easy use, even to those who are not familiar with the new technology.
Yeah, and it always gives you like a little like chime when you hit something, so you know that you hit it. It'd be kind of cool if they incorporate like a haptic feedback system into it, I think, so like it feels like you actually press something, but maybe that's something they can do down the road as well.
Definitely. I know in the new 2016 Ford Explorers, it actually is a physical button that they have changed it to.
Yeah, they actually did change back to physical buttons, which I don't really like the look of it, because they just kept like the layout exactly the same, but they just made everything physical buttons. But I mean, to each their own there. So another cool feature of the Explorer Sport is that it has two digital screens on either side of the speedometer up here in the front. One of which you can have set for options like navigation or seeing what radio station is on, or phone controls too if you want to dial someone. And then the other one is more like a display and vehicle settings. So there you have a digital tachometer and like a digital fuel gauge. And then you can also flip through there for like the different settings of the vehicle, like traction controls and the mirrors and windows, things like that. But it's kind of nice to have those digital screens on here too. But it's not a full digital display, but it's kind of an interesting way to implement that, I think.
Really, this car is so technologically advanced in comparison to its previous generation. Ford has really outdone itself with this model.
Yeah, this really does have everything you can want from a technological standpoint, with blind spot monitoring, parking sensors, rear backup camera, cross traffic detection,
lane assist, lane keeping assistance.
Yeah, exactly. You can get the adaptive cruise control. This one does not have it, but that is an option you can get. It's really pretty advanced and really a huge step up from last generation, so that's good to see as well.
Definitely.
To wrap up this overview here of the Ford Explorer Sport, we just wanted to kind of quickly talk about the exterior a little bit. This is where a lot of people really like the Explorer. For the most part, I think it's a well-received car, and people seem to really like the looks from the exterior.
Definitely.
Which I definitely agree with. I like the look of kind of like that spoiler over the back window and just kind of the sporty look to it. With the Sport trim, the car actually rides about an inch lower than the rest of the Explorer models, so it is lowered a little bit and has a different some springs and some suspension tuning to make it a little bit stiffer too. I mean, as you can see in some of these videos, there's not really much body roll for a vehicle this heavy. It actually really handles quite well without sacrificing too much ride quality. I've ridden in both an Explorer Limited and a Sport, and the Sport is definitely a little bit stiffer, but it's not uncomfortable by any means.
Yeah, it's not a huge difference.
And with the Sport package, you get some other exterior styling with the black trim pieces along the back and the sides, the black mirror covers, as well as the black grille. The headlights and taillights also have darker accents rather than lighter accents like on the other trims. And you also get the black and silver stock wheels, the 20-inch wheels too, which I think actually look pretty sharp. And overall, with the lower stance and the large black wheels, I think it has a pretty good road presence for a stock vehicle. I mean, it has a decent stance to it.
It really does.
I think it looks pretty cool, I'd say. And I really like the red on black. You see a lot of people just doing blacked out Ford Explorer, also the white on black as well. But I think the red looks a little bit more unique. And
it
it's
definitely
kind of a cool
stands
touch
out
to
a
it.
little bit, but it definitely has a great look to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a great vehicle overall, and I give it a thumbs up. All right, that's it today for our review on the 2015 Ford Explorer Sport. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.